So today we're starting probably one of my favorite lessons from algebra. I think it really clicks with my algebra brain. So today we're solving systems, but instead of solving them by graphing, we're going to solve them by substitution. To substitute just means it is a method of solving systems by substituting, which just means to plug in one equation into another. We're going to take one system and we're going to plug it into another. And we're going to start off with some simple ones, practice a little bit, get in the habit of substituting, and then we'll come back to some of the higher level algebra questions. So my very first step is to solve one equations for y equals or x equals. So my first three equations all have at least one that are y equals, but my fourth one has an equation that's x equals, and that's cool. Okay? Then we're going to substitute, if I can spell, we're going to substitute this expression into the other equation and solve for the variable. Meaning, if I know that y is equal to this, I can take this information and plug it in right there where I see a y. So I can plug in, and instead of saying y equals, I'm going to say 4x minus 1 is equal to 2x minus 5. I'm going to take my y equals and take that expression y is equal to this, and I'm going to substitute it in right here. So if I'm looking at number 2, if y is equal to 6x, I can substitute 6x into the y spot. So I'm going to say 2x plus 3 times 6x equals negative 20. Taking out the y and substituting it with what y is equal to. Once I have my equation, once I've substituted in, I'm going to solve for that variable. I'm going to turn that into x equals. So I'm going to move my small variable. So I'm left with 2x minus 1 is equal to a negative 5 plus 1. 2x is equal to negative 4. X is equal to negative 2. Notice what I'm substituting. If I'm substituting something in for y, my equation loses y completely because it's been replaced. So I'm solving for x equals. And then I'm going to take that answer and substitute it into the revised equation and solve for the variable. So now, let me change colors. I'm going to take this answer and plug it back into my original y equals equation. So I'm going to say y is equal, my equation is 4x minus 1, but I'm going to substitute that x number. So y equals 4 times negative 2 minus 1. Y equals 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 minus 1. Y is equal to negative 9. So by the time I'm done, I should have an x number, I should have a y number, and to write my ultimate answer, I'm going to write those as a coordinate pair. So if we were to graph these, I would get negative 2, negative 9 would be that intersection. We don't have a ton of writing room here, so if you want to get scratch paper, totally okay. So we've already substituted it right here, so we're going to go through and solve for x. So 2x plus 3 times 6x is 18x equals negative 20. 2x plus 18x 20x is equal to negative 20. So x is equal to -1. I'm going to take that number and I'm going to plug it back in. So I'm going to take my y equals equation, 6x, and I'm going to plug in that x number. So y is equal to 6 times -1. So y is equal to -6. And I'm going to write my ultimate answer as my coordinates, -1, comma, -6. So I'm going to set up the substitution for you on the next one, and then I'm going to turn you loose to do number 3 and number 4. So y is equal to this. So I'm going to replace y with this. So 3x plus 8, instead of saying y, I'm going to use what y is equal to. X plus 9 equals -5. Don't forget when I have parentheses that we have to distribute. I want you to solve all the way through, get an x number, and then I'm going to use that x number, whatever number I get right here, and I'm going to substitute it back into this equation, okay? I want you to finish out 3, do all of number 4. You can check yourself on the iPad. I can come around and check you. I will absolutely answer questions. Once 3 and 4 are done and you've checked them, go on to the back. So when I make it to my questions on the back, now I don't have an equation that is just y equals or x equals. I have to choose. If I'm looking at this equation, it's going to be simpler to turn that into y equals, because I can just subtract 2x on both sides. So I could use the equation y equals -2x minus 2. And from there, I can take this information and plug it in. 5x plus 3. My y is -2x minus 2 is equal to -8. We're going to go all the way through and solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my distribution arrows. 5x minus 6x. 3 times -2 is -6 equals -8. Let's clean that baby up a little bit. 5x's minus 6x's is -1x minus 6 equals -8. X plus 6 would be -2. So x is equal to a +2. Now I'm going to plug this answer into this simplified version, because that version's already y equals. So y equals -2 times my x number, which is 2 minus 2. I'm going to backtrack real quick and write my just generic equation. Once I have one equation solved for y, I plug in and get x. Now that I have to solve and actually get a y number, I can plug that directly into my y equals equation. So y equals -4 minus 2, y equals -6. Have my two numbers, 2 comma -6. That's my ultimate answer. And I don't have to take my equation and just turn it into y equals. I can also turn it into x equals. On here, on number 7, it would be simpler to turn it into x equals. X would be equal to a -5y when I moved it, and a +4. I can take this information, plug it into the x spot. So 3 times -5y plus 4 plus 15y equals -1. I'd solve it all the way down until I got an answer that was y equals in a number. And I would take whatever that number is and solve and plug it back into that x equals -5y plus 4. I'm going to turn you loose and let you finish this out. We don't have a ton of problems left, but I think we really just have to practice, work our way through this. ask questions if you need it. But let's get busy.